Bill Shabrad here with you standing in the state rotunda here at the Capitol, talking with Senator David Holt of Oklahoma City. David, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Bill.
Great. I want to talk to you about, you have a particular piece of legislation that's actually being considered right now. It's
Yes.
an actual cut in the income tax. And as you know, I don't have to tell you, there's a budget issue in
Right.
this Capitol.
That's right.
Tell us about that legislation, why you think it's important now during these
Sure.
types of budget.
Well, I will say my tax cuts would start to take effect in 2013. So I think we'd be beyond this budget situation. I think we already see that revenues are turning around, and they're fairly incremental, although I'll take whatever cut I can get, big or small. I want to take any cut I can get because I think we need to start scheduling more tax cuts. People may not realize, but we are about to implement the very last tax cut that was passed in 2006. That's going to happen in less than a year. Our rate in Oklahoma will go from 5.5 to 5.25. But it will still be higher than about 21 other states. And I think we need to continue to send the message that we want to push that rate down. We need to be more competitive. We need to obviously have more limited government. But from a business perspective, we need to have a more competitive tax rate. We can't have 24 states having a lower rate than us. If you look at the census results, where are people moving to? It's states that have no income tax. And we're a long ways from that. But my tax bill would take it down to 4.25. There's other ideas out there. I'm for anything, as long as we continue to schedule cuts, and I think the urgency is now because we're about to come to the end of our cutting.
Right, and so you think it's important just simply from an economic growth perspective? Is there any other advantages to cutting the income tax?
Well, you're starving the beast, as they say.
Okay.
I mean, you're continuing to limit the resources of state government. I understand, of course, there are fundamental and legitimate roles of the state government, and I'm not trying to starve the beast to starvation. But you know, I think that when times are good, there is a tendency and a temptation to expand, a little mission creep, expand the role of government, expand into programs that are nice. There's a lot of, every program's got a good intention behind it, but they're not all effective.
It's about doing the most with the least.
Exactly,
Right.
And so I want to focus on core government services, and if you continue to put pressure on the state capitol's resources, I think that's a good thing. I don't mind every year if we're in a budget crisis. I know some people really do. I want to see us continue to always have to pinch pennies.
Right. Let's talk about what the public thinks.
Yes.
We asked this question, we asked a sentence of both pro and con, so we really wanted to try to give a perspective to what we were asking, given everyone knows that there's a budget crisis here at the Capitol. Lowering the state income tax rate, just under 50% agreed with that. Do not lower the state income tax rate, was a little more than a third. You got about 12% undecided. About half of the state sounds like they're with you.
Yeah, and hey, that's all you need in an election is half the state.
Plus one.
Plus one. And your question is very fairly asked from a polling perspective. As you know, you can sometimes manipulate results in the way you ask the question. I think if you manipulated it at all, you actually depress those who want an income tax because you reminded them how tough things are right now and how much they depend on those services, and then you asked them do they want an income tax, and they still said they did. So
Right.
they get it. They get it.
Also, just so you know, behind that 50%, almost 45%, a plurality of Democrats said they supported cutting taxes. What do you think that says about the Republican-Democrat divide up here at the Capitol?
Well, I think it should remind what few Democrats are left that they need to continue to try to be more responsive to the people of Oklahoma, whether they're Democrats or Republicans. There's a reason that these two chambers are 2/3 Republican at this point. We're talking about tax cuts and they're not.
All right. Thanks, David. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Bill.